To learn to live the off-grid lifestyle and to be inspired to live your dreams, click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Click the bell notification. It's all free. So as you know, I've been doing these little poll questions every day. I do about 5 of them a day. One of the poll questions I've been asking about is, are you concerned about some sort of economic crisis or some sort of downturn or something that where, you know, you're just going to have to be more prepared, maybe like another lockdown like we had last year. And so I thought maybe I should start focusing some of my videos in that aspect. Of course, one of the polls I asked was, do you want me to relate off-grid living to current events? And that, again, suggested that a lot of people would like to see that kind of thing. So today I thought I'd do a 10 must-haves to survive an economic crisis. I mean, we could call it any type of crisis, but an economic crisis or a shutdown. We know we got supply chain issues, different things. And so what I did was I just kind of walked around the property and I was thinking, what does it take for me to live here comfortably? Yeah, you know, I live off grid, and if I'm living off grid, then perhaps that's what we need, because I don't feel like I'm going to have any worries. So the first thing I would suggest is heat. Of course, we have wood heat, and then we have a backup heater. We got this little Mr. Heater portable buddy. But our wood heat is our primary source. The only reason I have a backup heater is just in case something happens to the wood heater. I got to, you know, clean the chimney or the glass breaks and I got to replace it. You know, you want to have that heat still going while that happens. But the problem with the Mr. Heater portable buddy is it's propane. This last time I went to get propane, it went up $5 for a 20-pound tank. That was significant. So propane costs are already going up. So during an economic crisis, propane may not be the thing you want to actually get. Now, if you got a 500-gallon propane tank outside and you're using that as your backup heater, but you want to fill it up in the summer months, not during the winter months. And remember, it's only 500 gallons. I don't know if I've ever got 500 gallons to last through the entire season. I've only had propane heat a couple times in my life. I'm not sure it lasted the entire season. So that means you got to get it refilled in the middle of the winter. And that could be very expensive, especially in an economic crisis. Now, the other thing you want to remember is if we have an electrical issue, if you have a furnace, that furnace requires electricity. So you want to keep that in mind also. Which brings me to my second point, electricity. Depending on what you need to run, for example, like the furnace, you're going to have different size types of ability to power things. I don't require a lot of power. The only thing I power is a refrigerator, a tablet, a couple phones. And so I have 1,000 watts of electricity. Solar panels serves me very well, charges my batteries, runs through the night with the batteries. And I've made videos about that. I just got 10, 12 volt, 100 watt panels. I also have as a backup a little generator. Thing's coming up on 3 years old. It just doesn't want to stop. It's a little Champion 2,000 watt inverter generator. Costs about 400 bucks. You buy this at Tractor Supply store. And the nice thing about this is it just doesn't run very fast or very loud. It only ramps up in speed if it senses that it needs to produce more power. So if you're only running a battery charger or a fan or something or a refrigerator, it doesn't run very fast, very loud. Where you can go get a industrial generator, and those are cheaper and you can get more power out of them than this one, but they don't last as long because they run so fast and so loud. Okay, another thing that of course you're going to have to think about is food. I know a lot of people in my polls have said that food is a serious concern. Now, of course, we have chickens and they're producing eggs. So, and they're producing a good amount of eggs. And we're gonna get about 7 a day here pretty soon. And that's sustainable. That's something that's gonna work well. Now, you gotta make sure you got chicken food. They can't free range and survive with just free range food. You're gonna have to make sure you got plenty of food. Now, people are saying that chicken food is going up in price. I haven't seen it, but you could stockpile it. So buy it now. When the economic crisis happens, you're going to be fine. I got, what, 14 chickens, I think, and they may go through a bag a month. Not very much. Maybe even a bag every month and a half. I've not really analyzed it since we butchered the meat chickens. Another thing you're going to want is water. Of course, we have a well that I can run off the solar panels or the generator, either one. So I don't have a huge concern about water. So if you got a well, you got to figure out how to power it. Now, my dad, he lives in Florida. He's got a well, And when hurricanes hit, of course, he loses electric. He's able to basically unplug his well from the power source and plug it into his generator. What they do then is they fill up tanks and buckets while the generator's running and then shut it off. That way the generator's not running all the time. I've got a natural spring just down the road from us. I've showed you the natural spring before. And if I needed to, I could go down and get water from that. So keeping that in mind, you might have a spring or a stream or something that you might be able to get water from. Which brings me to water purification. You're gonna have to learn how to purify water. Of course, we have a Berkey, but you can also use chlorine or iodine, or you can boil the water. Remember, boiling takes resources. Firewood or propane or electric or something. So you gotta keep that in mind. Bleach, FDA's got a website, tells you how much bleach to use. It's not much. First aid. Carolyn and I don't go to the doctor. I've said that in many videos. And somebody even said, oh, I got that. If you broke your leg, you'd go to the doctor. Well, maybe. Depends if it was serious, how crooked it was and all that. Maybe not. I have dislocated my ankle completely. I mean, it was snapped over to the side. It was terrible looking. And after a couple days, when the pain subsided a little bit, I popped it back into place myself. Of course, that took a lot of courage and bravery. So, no, I'm not a big doctor fan. I'd much rather just try to take care of myself. But yeah, you're gonna need first aid. Bandages, Neosporin, things that are gonna keep you from getting infections if you get a cut. Burn relief, in case you burn yourself on the wood stove, of course. If you cut yourself, you're gonna wanna be able to wrap it up, bandage it. Gas. Now, gas has already went up in price. It's went up $1 here, well, maybe even $1.20 since January. It's went up significantly here. So if something were to happen to the supply chain, even a little bit, gas is gonna go through the roof, I think. The problem with gas is if you try to store it, it can go bad. So you gotta rotate it out. So if you have 5 or 6 cans of gasoline, next time you go to the gas station, don't fill the truck with the pump. Fill the truck with your gas jugs, take the jugs over and get them refilled. Now the thing is you're not gonna wanna be driving around a lot. I know people go out every day. So there's times that truck doesn't move for 2 weeks at a time. We just don't go a lot of places. I know you're supposed to change the oil every 6 months, but I don't. I change the oil when the percentage of the newer vehicles now tell you the percentage of oil. My oil doesn't need change for like a year at a time. I just don't drive it that much. Now the other thing is if you're gonna do wood heat, you gotta make sure you got enough gasoline for the generator and your chainsaw. The generator that I've got runs 11 hours on 1 gallon if it's running moderately. These industrial generators use a lot of gas. You may get about 3 hours off the gallon of gas. So if you're powering really heavy loads like your furnace and you got that industrial generator, you're gonna need a lot of gas. So consider that. Now what we do is obviously we just charge our batteries and we run our house off our batteries. Of course we got solar panels also. So okay, next is security. We see this almost every time there's a natural disaster, a hurricane, flooding, almost every time. Just recently down in Louisiana, even though they're not showing in the news, I'm hearing reports of people coming around stealing their gas, whatever they got available, chickens. That's happening around here. People are stealing people's chickens. So you need something that's going to alert you that there's a problem. Now we got this little screamy thing. I bought it so the raccoons would stay away from the chickens. Carolyn goes to bed much later than I do, and I get up quite a bit earlier than she does. So that works out pretty good also. My concern is if something happens, somebody's going to try to steal our firewood if things get desperate. So I'll put this screamy thing right here. Of course, the house is right next to our firewood pile, so they're really going to struggle to steal firewood. A lot of people are worried that I'm going to lose my firewood if I go somewhere. We're pretty inconsistent on when we leave. Nobody is around us, so when we leave, nobody really knows that both of us left. So they would have to come knock on the door, find out that we're not home. If we leave, it may be for 10 minutes or it may be for 2 hours. Nobody would really have a consistent pattern with us. But if you leave to go to church every Sunday or something like that, and they know you're gone for 5 or 6 hours, that's when you need to really think about how you're going to get a security system. Now remember, a lot of people will have a security system on their phone that will go off. If there is a problem, we may not have internet, so you want to consider, what are you going to do if there's no internet, so your phone can get the camera signals to alert you that there's somebody stealing your firewood. My recommendation is try to find a way to stay home as much as possible so you can survive, because if you're out traveling, you're using gasoline, that's taking up resources that you need for your generator. You know, if you need to go somewhere, maybe walk. Okay, books. Books are going to be a big deal. Again, if there's no internet or TV, you're going to need something to entertain yourself at night. You know, there's several hours a day that it's dark, but we're not ready to go to bed, especially in the wintertime. So you're going to want to read something. You know, right now, Carolyn and I sit around watching Netflix or Amazon Prime TV. Of course, if you got DVDs or something that you can play and you got enough electricity to run those things, that's fine too. We could download movies and be able to play movies on our tablet. Okay, and the last one I wanted to talk about was hygiene. This is something that was brought to my attention. I never thought about it, but soap and shampoos, laundry detergents, dish soap. If you don't have those things, that makes your life miserable. You're gonna stink, you're gonna be trying to wash yourself with a washcloth. It's gonna be terrible. I mean, recognize you may not have a lot of water as it is. So you don't wanna just be trying to wash off with water, wasting a bunch of water. You're gonna want soap. Ivory soap is probably the best thing to use. It's natural, it's biodegradable, so you can dump it out if you don't have any place to drain it. It's not gonna pollute anything. I've always used ivory soap, it works fine. Make sure you got shampoo, otherwise you're putting ivory soap in your hair and that's just, then you're becoming the straw man. Also, while we're talking about hygiene, I have a pair of clippers, hair clippers. I cut my own hair. Being able to shave, I don't like having a beard, so I got to be able to shave. I keep my knives sharp enough that I can shave. I've showed you that before. I can shave with my knives, but that also, you got to be brave enough to do those things. You got to be good enough at sharpening knives. So I hope I can inspire you to be prepared so you can live your dream. Thanks for watching.